goddamn clothes. Who the fuck told you that you look like a hoe? So this video was actually specially requested by my mother. This was a part of my childhood trauma that I actually locked away and threw away the key and didn't even remember. So my mom texted me literally the other day and was like, why don't you do a story time about your traumatic experience at virginity camp? So before I start making these videos, I always sit and then I jot down notes. So I sit here and I just talk freely, but I always have notes, don't forget to say this. Because there's been way too many times where I'll record a video and then I'll edit it and be like, damn, I forgot to bring that up. So I'll write notes to be like, don't forget to bring this part up. So while I was writing the notes, I also realized that I have quite a few different experiences with different Christian institutions that my parents would put me in. So I went to Christian middle school and had a very traumatic experience. My parents sent me away to an away Christian camp, and I had a really bad experience. So the virginity camp is going to be the main issue of the story, but I'm also going to kind of veer off a couple of times to tell you about the other two experiences that I had when my parents put me somewhere else with so-called Christians. So let's get into it. So while I'm explaining this story, you guys know I always install hair while I give my story times. I have a little bit of color today. I have already put in this V-part wig by Nice Hair. My bald spot grew back, so I don't want to hear anybody's shit. I was using this is the only thing I was using on my bald spots, and it grew back pretty quickly, literally two weeks of using this, and my bald spots grew back. But yeah, so this V-part wig with a little bit of color in it, because I don't know, I think ever since I got back from London and Paris and I had that blonde hair, going back to black kind of made me sad. But y'all know how I feel about V-part wigs. They're very easy to install. The only advice that I will give you if you're wearing a V-part wig is do not go to sleep in them. I have never had an issue with a V-part wig before I started sleeping in them. That's what created my bald spot. I'm sleeping, I'm moving around. The little bitty combs with the friction probably was ripping my hair out while I was asleep, so do not do that. Make sure you take it off at night. You can plop it right back on your head in the morning time. Or if you like, you also can cut the combs out. I've done that before, completely cut the combs out and sew down the net onto braids. That also works. And basically you got to sew in 30 seconds. So I am about to style my hair and then we're going to talk a little bit about this Christian camp. So I'm pretty sure that most of you, well, I don't know if most of you have. I don't want to say most of you have seen this TV show, but I don't know if anybody has ever watched the TV show Girlfriends. It is a staple in the Black community. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have seen the TV show Girlfriends. There's a character on there. Her name is Yvonne. I forgot the name of the actual actress, but she played Yvonne on the show Girlfriends. So she had this sort of kind of virginity camp where it wasn't an away camp, and it wasn't a camp where I had to spend the night anywhere. It literally was a camp that your parents would bring you to every single day, and we would just do different activities. I remember one of the days we went to Six Flags. We just had days where we did have Bible study and stuff like that, but it was mostly just oh, here's the sheet and these are the field trips and the things that we're going to do with each other. So it really was building, making friends. It was really fun. I had a great time. It was me and one of my high school friends that did it. My mom had asked my high school friend's mom, hey, I'm taking my daughter to, this purity camp. I want to know if your daughter, if you want your daughter to go too. It's supposed to be really, really fun, really educational on the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really eventful happened at this camp. So the whole time that I'm in this camp, I'm having a great time. It's not one of those things where they're shoving Jesus down your throat to the point where, God is no longer appealing. Because I do feel like it's some people, that are like that. Like we focus on Jesus, but in a very fun way. This is where it gets super messy. So on the very last day of the camp, it's supposed to be kind of like your graduation type thing. But the graduation is actually a wedding ceremony where we all dress in white and we walk down the aisle. And when we walk down the aisle, we walk down the aisle in pairs. When we get down to the aisle, we're pledging our virginity to Jesus, and they give us a purity ring. And at the end of it, literally, we're just supposed to be telling like Jesus Christ, like, we love you. I'm never going to have sex until I'm married, which in itself, now that I'm thinking about it, is super, super, super weird. That's very weird. And I feel like everybody's always like talking about, oh, the LGBTQ plus or drag queens or whatever, like you're sexualizing children. I really feel like that sexualizes children, because at that point in time, I was not even thinking about sex. And if I was thinking about sex, maybe you guys should put me in sex education instead of having me walk down the aisle and tell strangers that I'm pledging my virginity to Jesus. I just think that that's very weird. So before I even got to the ceremony where I'm supposed to walk down the aisle and tell Jesus that I will not have sex before marriage, one of like the counselors or one of the women, that was in charge of basically like watching over the girls, basically told me that I needed to change my dress. And I was a little bit confused because I wasn't white like everybody else. So I was like, well, what's wrong with my dress? That lady told me that I looked like a hoe. And I'm going to show you a picture now. I'm going to have it be an overlay of me in the white dress that I chose. You're in a room full of like girls between the ages of like 9 and maybe 14 or 15. And none of us are looking at each other like that. We're all like, oh my gosh, you look so pretty in your dress. Oh my gosh, I love your dress. I love your hair. You look so pretty today. Basically like having fun in the moment. Just for you to come and tell me that I look like a hoe in my dress because my arms are out. Yes, it was a halter top dress, but the halter top, like my whole back wasn't out. Like it wasn't down to here. It came up further than this. It was like all the way, I can't even put my hand up here. It was like all the way up here. You really only saw like the top part of my back. So she was like, my dress is not appropriate to be in the church and that I look like a hoe, basically. So immediately I like bust out crying. Like I'm literally like I'm bawling because she first of all, she embarrassed me. She said that in front of everybody that I look like a hoe. And then, when me and my mom went shopping for this dress, at the time that this was happening, this ceremony was actually very important to me. I was actually super excited to get my purity ring. Like I had bought me like a virgin sign. They had like merch that you could buy. I had like a virgin sign that I was going to put on my bed, I did put on my bedroom door. Like this was very important to me at this time. So for me to feel like I put in all this work, my mother was with me when I bought the dress, told me that I look beautiful. For me to do all of that, to come here, to be beautiful, to marry Jesus, and then for you to tell me that I look like a hoe and that I shouldn't be wearing that dress. So I'm looking for my mom at this point because all the like girls that are in the camp are together. We're all like mingling. The parents are all somewhere else waiting for like the ceremony to start. So I think I like went in. I think my mom was actually in the church already. And then so I go into where the ceremony is supposed to take place. And my mom is like, what's wrong with you? So I told my mom what happened. I was like, she told me I look like a hoe and I need to change my dress. So I'm asking my mom, like, can we go home and change my dress? Because at this point, I think that I look like a hoe. The lady told me that what I had on was completely inappropriate. I look like a whore. I shouldn't be, in any type of like church setting, ceremony, or anything like that, looking like this. God doesn't, she went in on me. So in my head, I'm not appropriate. And I'm like, do I have another white dress? Asking my mom, can she take me home so I can change my clothes so that I don't look like a hoe no more? My mom was like, no, you're not changing your goddamn clothes. Who the fuck told you that you look like a hoe? Let's go. Oh, absolutely not. Like, my mom was livid. My mom was livid. So we find the lady who, I don't know why I'm about to call her Yvonne. We find the woman who's over the camp, and she's actually sitting down and she's getting her hair and her makeup done. So my mom kind of explains to her what happened, and then I'm sitting there crying, and she's asking me to explain to her in my own words what happened. So she's livid at this point. I thought that she was gonna agree with like the camp counselor that I looked like a hoe and that I wasn't appropriate for the ceremony, but she absolutely positively did not agree with her whatsoever. She was like, no, bring her in here. That's ridiculous. We don't talk to little girls like that. She was like, you look beautiful. My dress looked similar to yours. And it did. Her dress did kind of look similar to mine. I think her shoulders were out or something. I forgot what she had on, but she was like, absolutely not. Like, you look gorgeous. Bring her in here. She fired the lady on the spot. I actually don't even remember the lady's reaction. I know that she was upset, but I don't remember her exact reaction. I do remember that lady got fired. She fired her. So she like gave me a hug, gave me some tissue, told me to wipe my eyes, and then told me to enjoy, the ceremony. I did end up getting married to Jesus, but even when I left there, I still wasn't happy. Like, it scarred me. It literally scarred me. I'm just like, okay, so it made me self-conscious about anything that I would wear. It made me feel like, well, damn, am I a hoe? Like, this is the shit that I've been wearing for like the past like couple of years. I didn't know that this was inappropriate. It made me, every time we went to church after that, I was super uncomfortable. I was super self-conscious. Like, it literally, I think that people really don't understand that even though that was a very, out of the whole time I was at that camp, I had a very good time. But that one experience that I had with that lady really ruined that whole camp experience for me. It ruined the fact that I was excited that I was still a virgin. It ruined the fact that I was excited to be pledging my virginity to Jesus, which now that I'm 31 years old, that is actually very weird. I don't, those types of camps, period, are weird. I think it was a little bit normalized back then, but now that we have social media and people are like sharing their experiences and we have like podcasts and all these different stuff, I think everybody can agree that virginity camp and walking down the aisle and pledging my virginity and saying that I'm never going to have sex until I'm married to Jesus in front of a bunch of people that I don't know is weird. And that is sexualizing children. I don't care what anybody says. Let a child be a child. So yeah, that was one of my very terrible experiences with Christians. Another one of my terrible experiences was when I was actually in middle school. I went to a private Christian school called Cathedral Academy. I think it's like out in DeKalb County in Atlanta. So I went to this Christian school. It was a very small, it was not many students there. My whole class was like 15 people, if that. We had Bible study like twice a week. It was, I loved my classmates, but the dean of my school told me that I was ghetto. I remember this lady's name. Her name was Miss Turner. She told me that I was ghettoing the school up because I wore micro braids and hoop earrings. And she was Black. I could not believe that somebody that was Black was saying that to me, that I'm ghettoing the school up because I wear hoop earrings and micro braids. There was nothing in the dress code that I couldn't wear that. I was always in dress code. I was in uniform every single day. That was how I expressed myself because we wore uniforms. I wore hoop earrings and I had micro braids and I would do like different things in my hair because that was the only way that I could express my individuality was my jewelry and my hair, because everything else had to be uniform. So that was another strike for me with goddamn being in a church. The lady telling me that I'm ghettoing the Christian school because I wear hoop earrings and micro braids. I don't think that God said anything in the Bible about not being able to wear freaking micro braids and hoop earrings. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus, but I have a very hard time going to church because of things that I have experienced back when I was a child. I have childhood trauma from church. I have childhood trauma from the way that Christians treated me, the way that they treat me today. Now that the way that they treat me today, because I'm a lesbian. Even in my YouTube comments, I have to delete comments all the time for people telling me that I'm going to hell because I am a lesbian. So I choose to worship God where I am, so that I am not around judgmental people. If anybody else has any horror church stories or any type of horror story with Christians or any other religion that is your religion, I would love to hear them in the comments so that we can have a discussion. As always, thank you for tuning in into today's video. Thank you to You Nice for sponsoring this video. The links to this hair will be in my description box. And yeah, thank you for tuning into today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! Yeah.